Well, I don't see, unless they're a very, very rich man now, how they can afford to to run a shoot with big numbers of pheasants anyway. I mean, a good shoot now needs at least 20,000 a year to run it, I take it. And, you know, there ain't that many people with the money to spend 20,000 plus a year.
We were then saying, you know, it's a challenge. Bill just now said that he knows somebody who's been shooting and he's a 100%er, you know, and he gave the shooting up because there's no challenge left. I think that's really what it amounts to. It's a challenge with nature. Same as with farming. This is what country is all about.
Well, I think we like a day in the open. A day in the open. Especially the city types, they like a day in the open. Yeah. Watch the dog work. If they get a bird or two now and again, they're very happy. They don't come out to kill everything. They come out to preserve what they can. If it weren't for the shooting men, there'd be no pheasants, very little, and anything.
If you notice, we've all left the low ones, pick the best ones, and we meet a lot of new people. I mean, this is the first time I've been on the shoot and met a lot of new friends. You know, that's
very much a social gathering, a social event.
To me, there's nothing cruel about it. I mean, I don't see any difference between raising cattle to eat or raising anything to eat or raising these to shoot. I mean, as you've seen, everything that has been wounded have been picked up, so there's nothing left behind. That's in the butcher shop. That's helping the export trade. I mean, virtually every pheasant that we kill goes abroad anyway. And this has been going on for years and years and years, and I hope that never die out. I ain't going to say that rearing won't die out in time, because I think it will. And when that happens, a lot of the countryside, there won't be a pheasant left.
There'll be nothing else left.
No, there won't.
Simple reason I'll fell the woods, I'll bulldoze the hedges out.
I mean,
close.
To people who are unaware of the goings-on of the countryside and the tradition of field sports, pheasant shooting and so on, it may seem strange to equate game conservation with shooting. However, it's very interesting to note that game, of course, is at its most plentiful on the farms and estates where shooting takes place, because it is regarded as a crop there in the same way as other crops on the farm, and a proportion of the annual farm budget is put towards maintaining this crop.
I think that conservation and shooting go terribly much together. I'm not necessarily holding a candle for country sports, although I indulge in them myself. But one thing is absolutely certain, that without shooting in Norfolk or, say, hunting in the Midlands, the countryside would not be conserved the way it is. I'm actually keen on the visual landscape, but if I wasn't, and I was just keen on farming, and I wasn't interested in shooting, well, I could cut every tree down and have one huge wheat field. Might make a few extra bob. But, I mean, there's no doubt about it that country sports have shaped the landscape, particularly in East Anglia, which is entirely a man-made landscape. Obviously, the way the land, how heavy or light the land has dictated the size of the fields in the past. But nowadays, it's very much the shooting interest, in fact, which is keeping the parts of Norfolk which are preserved as they are.
It's man's basic natural instinct to go out and hunt his food. I don't know of any other better feeling, and I think most people would admit the same. Really, if they're truthful, there is a hunting instinct in all of us. It's just in some of us it lays dormant, and in others it's active. And if that basic natural instinct is within you, then it has to come out. And when the weather is right and everything is right, then you have to go. And you're working with nature. You're working with the weather and the crops and everything, and the time of the year, the seasons, everything. Nature decides whether you go out and you have a good night, or whether you go out and you get nothing. You go out when there's a rain frost, you'll come home empty-handed. But you go out when the wind is blowing, starlit night, no moon, then the chances are you'll have a good night. You never know what's over the other side of the hedge until you get there. And when you get there, you never know what you're going to find.
If they're in it now, well, they are in it for the money. I mean, there's money to be made out of it. With pheasants now at £3 a brace, if you can go and get 20 pheasants, I mean, that isn't a bad night's work. Till you're talking to 10 brace of pheasants, well, that's 30 quid. I mean, that's virtually my week's run wages.
But that's only partly money. I don't think that determines whether they go out or not. Not money alone. And if it was a case of just going out and earning money, there'd be a hell of a lot of people do it. But there's a lot of times you go out and you don't earn no money. And it's usually the times when you need it most. Well, you keep going, don't you? I mean, you might walk 4 or 5 miles and, you know, just not even getting out of our bird, you know, not even have one shot. And then suddenly you might just drop into a little old pit hole that happened to lie warm, and the night can change, and suddenly you've got yourself a dozen birds, and home you go, quite happy. And not only that, that all belongs to you, you know. When you're out there, there's nobody else about. There's nobody to tell you where to go and where you can't go. You can go where you like. You ain't got to walk around the road. You can walk straight across the fields. You can go as a crow fly.
Even if we own the land, as I'm a landowner, I consider myself to be a steward of the land for my lifetime. And the poacher quite probably going to take the view that nobody owns the land, God owns the land, and therefore he's going to have his share of it.
now at the Valley Belt, I had a listen down here and I can't hear anything, so I'm now going to take those
In the
off
season, right early on, you've got to be out night watching, as we call it. We start off earlier on in September for partridges. We try and bush the stubbles up, pieces of barbed wire. We'll put out anything to stop the boys coming with dragging nets. Then we go on to the woods and the belts. I generally try and sit about in the van some nights if it's cold, or if it's very cold, then I'll get the old dog and we'll go out on foot. Anything to try and be in a different place, not be in the same place 2 nights running. Very often they'll come just as soon as the old birds get up. 5 o'clock tea time, when they expect you to be at having your tea. You can't really put a time down. Their wife never knows when I'm coming in for tea, put it like that. And then some of them will wait through and come through 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, might be 3, 4 o'clock in the morning even, and they'll be going home when all the early workers are going to work, so they aren't noticed. There's just no telling. You've virtually got to do all night and half the morning as well. In my career anyway, I have been done a time or two, obviously. And the next morning when you go through the wood, there's nothing will come to the whistle when you whistle your birds up. You get heaps of feathers here, there and everywhere, and you really feel sick about it. If I had my way, I should put the bloody lot in jail, sort of thing, and throw away the key.
It usually turns into a personal thing between the local poacher and the gamekeeper. They usually hate each other's guts. The gamekeeper hates the poacher because he can't catch him. And the poacher finish up hating the gamekeeper for his devious deeds he's likely to do, i.e. shoot his dog, poison it, snare it. I have seen a gamekeeper's gibbet with 3 whippet-type lurchers hanging on it. The carcasses of 3 whippet-type lurchers hanging on it, not far from here, in Norfolk. And what can the poacher do anyhow? Even if he knows the gamekeeper has shot his dog or poisoned his dog, what can he say? He can't say nothing. He can't take him to court.
Come on. Here, good girl. Drop it. Good girl. There's a good girl.
I mean, years ago when you had the old laws, if you had someone with a lurcher, then you simply stuck a dog spike in the head. When the hare went through, that went straight past it, and when the lurcher went through, that had a dog spike go straight through its guts. And them days, that was as simple as that. If you walked on my land, you got your foot in a leg trap, in a man trap, and that was cut off. You didn't come anymore. You knew exactly where you were. You knew if the lord of the manor caught you on there, and your father worked there, and you were caught, your father would be out on his ear straight that night.
It's the same as